heart racing, breath shortening, pain shooting across your chest. You're alone, and in that terrifying you realize this could be a heart attack. What would you do next? The chilling truth is that the decisions you make in those first few minutes could mean the difference between life and death. Are you prepared? Living alone or spending significant time by yourself doesn't have to be a death sentence if a heart attack strikes. Surviving is absolutely possible if you know exactly what steps to take in those critical first moments. In this potentially life-saving guide, we'll walk through 7 crucial actions you must take the moment you suspect a heart attack is beginning, and you're the only one around. These aren't complicated medical procedures. They're simple, practical steps that anyone can remember and perform when it matters most. You don't need extensive medical training or fancy equipment to save your own life. What you do need is preparation, knowledge, and the ability to remain calm under extraordinary pressure. We'll methodically break down each vital step. How to identify those earliest warning signs that most people miss, which medication to take immediately, and how to take it, clever techniques to reduce strain on your struggling heart, and strategic actions that could buy you those precious extra minutes needed for help to arrive. I urge you to stay until the very end, because the final steps we'll discuss are the ones most commonly forgotten in the chaos of the moment. Yet they could be the decisive factors that save your life. Don't wait until you're gasping for breath to learn what your body has been trying to tell you. Let's dive into these life-preserving techniques right now. Step 1, recognizing the earliest warning signs. The first and most crucial step in surviving a heart attack when you're alone is recognizing what it actually feels like. Not just in your chest, but throughout your entire body. Hollywood has done us a tremendous disservice by portraying heart attacks as dramatic, chest-clutching events where someone immediately collapses to the ground. The sobering reality is that real heart attacks often begin with much more subtle symptoms that are frustratingly easy to dismiss or misinterpret until precious time has slipped away. Be vigilant for a deep, uncomfortable pressure or squeezing sensation in the center of your chest. Imagine someone slowly tightening a band around your torso or gradually filling your chest cavity with heavy cement. This sensation might come and go in waves, cruelly tricking you into believing it's nothing serious. However, if it persists for more than a few minutes or keeps returning with increasing intensity, don't second-guess yourself. Your body is sounding an alarm that demands immediate attention. Beyond chest discomfort, be alert for shortness of breath that seems to appear from nowhere, even without accompanying chest pain. You might suddenly feel as though you've just sprinted up a steep hill. Despite sitting quietly in your favorite chair, many people experience pain radiating unexpectedly to the arm, shoulder, neck, or jaw. Others become mysteriously lightheaded, break out in a cold, clammy sweat, or feel nauseated and dizzy without any obvious cause. What's particularly important to understand, especially for women and older adults, is that the discomfort may manifest as pressure in the upper back or stomach rather than anything recognizable in the chest area. This divergence from textbook symptoms leads to dangerous delays in seeking treatment. Consider what happened to Thomas, age 74. He was peacefully reviewing his morning newspaper when he noticed an unusual tightness beneath his collarbone, something he might have easily dismissed as simple heartburn after breakfast. Then he realized he couldn't seem to take a complete breath, and his hands mysteriously began to perspire. Thomas remembered reading that not all heart attacks announce themselves with dramatic chest pain. Instead of brushing off these subtle symptoms, he took immediate action. That single moment of awareness likely saved his life. Remember this vital truth. Your body whispers before it screams. With heart attacks, those early whispers represent your only window to take action before permanent damage begins. If you wait for the classic chest-clutching, floor-collapsing drama you've seen in movies, you may have already sacrificed precious minutes. Or worse, the next time something feels off in your body, especially if you're experiencing that combination of pressure, breathing difficulty, or unusual fatigue, stop whatever you're doing immediately. Don't try to power through it. Don't convince yourself it's just indigestion or anxiety. Recognizing these warning signs for what they truly might be is your first opportunity to survive. Treat them with the seriousness they deserve, even if they initially seem minor or ambiguous. Your life might genuinely depend on this moment of self-awareness. Step 2, calling emergency services. Immediately. Once you suspect a heart attack might be underway, the very next action you must take, without any hesitation or delay, is to call 911 or your country's emergency number. This is non-negotiable. Do not wait to see if the symptoms subside. Do not attempt to drive yourself to the hospital. Do not waste precious minutes worrying that you might be overreacting or inconveniencing anyone. Calling emergency services isn't just the fastest way to get help. It's fundamentally the most effective action you can take to stay alive. A heart attack isn't something you can ignore or tough out like a headache. Every single minute that passes matters profoundly. The longer your heart muscle remains starved of oxygen, the greater the permanent damage becomes. Damage that can never be reversed. When you call 911, skilled professionals are already preparing their life-saving protocols as they race toward you. They're bringing specialized equipment, critical medications, and most importantly, the expertise to keep you alive if your heart suddenly stops beating on the journey to the hospital. Here's why this edge is so crucial. If your symptoms rapidly worsen, which frequently happens during a heart attack, you may quickly lose the ability to help yourself at all. That's precisely why attempting to drive yourself to the hospital represents one of the most dangerous decisions people make during a cardiac emergency. You could lose consciousness behind the wheel, cause a devastating accident, or critically delay your own care. The wisest approach is always to let trained professionals come directly to you. Consider what happened to Margaret, age 78. She experienced a strange ache radiating through her left shoulder, followed by an unexpected wave of nausea and an unusual cold sweat breaking across her forehead. Her first instinct was to call her daughter. But then she remembered a critical piece of advice from her cardiologist. If you're alone and suspect a heart attack, call 911 first. You can talk to your family afterward. She made that vital call without delay. By the time the ambulance arrived at her doorstep, her symptoms had intensified dramatically, but the emergency team was fully prepared. They stabilized her condition immediately, right there in her living room. That single phone call quite literally saved her life. You don't have to be absolutely certain you're experiencing a heart attack to justify calling for emergency help. The dispatcher won't be frustrated or annoyed if it turns out to be something less serious. In fact, they would vastly prefer to send assistance you ultimately didn't need than miss the opportunity to save a life because someone hesitated too long. As a practical measure, always keep your phone somewhere easily accessible, especially if you live alone. If you begin feeling symptoms and find yourself unable to speak clearly, don't panic. Simply press your phone's emergency call feature. Many smartphones now have shortcuts to call for help even when locked. Take 5 minutes today to learn exactly where this feature is on your particular device and how to use it in an emergency. That small investment of time could later prove invaluable. Step 3, chewing an aspirin slowly and deliberately after calling emergency services. The next most powerful life-preserving action you can take is remarkably simple, yet profoundly effective. Chew an aspirin. Notice I specifically said chew, not swallow, and do it slowly and deliberately. Even if your hands are trembling with anxiety, If you have access to a standard 325 milligram aspirin tablet and you're not allergic to it or taking blood-thinning medications that would contraindicate its use, this single action can significantly increase your likelihood of surviving a heart attack. It's almost breathtaking how something so small and commonplace could have such life-altering power in this specific circumstance. Aspirin works by rapidly thinning your blood, which helps slow or potentially even prevent the growth of the blood clot that's likely blocking one of your coronary arteries, the very obstruction causing your heart attack. By chewing the tablet rather than swallowing it whole, you dramatically accelerate how quickly it enters your bloodstream. Comprehensive medical studies have demonstrated this can buy you precious minutes, sometimes even enough to restore partial blood flow before professional help arrives at your door. Under normal circumstances, it's generally advised not to take aspirin on an empty stomach due to potential gastric irritation. However, during a suspected heart attack, the immediate risk of continued cardiac damage far outweighs this concern. Similarly, if you only have coated or delayed-release aspirin available, chew it anyway. The situation demands the fastest possible absorption. Let me share what happened to William. Age 72. One ordinary morning, he suddenly felt an alarming tightness spreading from his chest up toward his neck. With remarkable presence of mind, he remembered having a bottle of aspirin in his kitchen cabinet. He immediately chewed one tablet while sitting down and waiting for the paramedics he had already called. Later, his cardiologist told him something remarkable. That single, simple action likely reduced the permanent damage to his heart muscle. That little white pill, the doctor explained, kept things from deteriorating further while help was on the way. If you live alone or spend significant time by yourself, make absolutely certain that aspirin is readily accessible throughout your living space. Consider storing some in your nightstand drawer, kitchen cabinet, bathroom medicine chest, or even in your wallet or purse. Check periodically to ensure it hasn't expired, and be sure to tell your loved ones exactly where you keep it in case they ever need to help you during an emergency. This simple intervention might seem almost too basic to be significant, but it's thoroughly grounded in cardiovascular science and practiced by emergency responders worldwide. Chewing aspirin during the onset of a heart attack isn't just helpful advice. It's a proven medical intervention that can dramatically improve outcomes. During those critical first minutes when your heart is fighting for survival, this humble tablet can genuinely make the difference between walking out of the hospital or never making it there at all. Step 4, sitting or lying down to protect your heart. Once you've called for emergency help and taken aspirin if appropriate, your next critical task is deceptively simple, but absolutely essential. Stop all unnecessary movement. Find the safest, most comfortable position possible and remain as still as you can. This is not the time to pace anxiously around your home, gather personal belongings, or attempt to unlock multiple doors unless absolutely necessary for emergency access. Any additional physical exertion places increased demand on your heart, which is already desperately struggling to function with inadequate oxygen. Ideally, you should sit with your back properly supported, feet flat on the floor, and arms resting comfortably at your sides or in your lap. This optimal positioning measurably reduces the workload on your compromised heart while you wait for paramedics to arrive. If you begin feeling faint, lightheaded, or unusually weak, immediately lie down on your side with your head slightly elevated if possible. This position helps maintain blood flow to your brain if your heart begins to falter further. Resist the natural urge to power through this situation as you might with other challenges in life. That admirable determination, which may have served you well in countless other circumstances, becomes a dangerous liability during a heart attack. It's entirely normal to feel somewhat embarrassed about calling for emergency assistance and then seemingly doing nothing while waiting. We're culturally conditioned to stay active and productive, especially during crises. But in this unique situation, doing seemingly nothing is actually doing something profoundly important. It's giving your struggling heart its best possible chance to stabilize. This deliberate stillness slows your breathing, calms your nervous system, and prevents your body from needlessly consuming its already limited oxygen supply. Consider what happened to Eleanor, age 81. When she first felt that alarming pressure radiating across her chest, her immediate instinct was to quickly tidy up her kitchen and get herself together before help arrived. Fortunately, she remembered something her cardiologist had emphasized during her last checkup. If you ever suspect heart trouble, sit down immediately. Everything else can wait. She sank into her comfortable recliner and patiently waited for paramedics. That intentional stillness, she later learned, likely prevented her symptoms from escalating into full cardiac arrest before the emergency team reached her home. If you ever begin experiencing those telltale warning signs, chest pressure, shortness of breath, dizziness, or unusual fatigue, don't attempt to finish whatever task you're doing, no matter how important it seems in the moment. Stop exactly where you are, or move as minimally as possible to a safer, more comfortable location. Sit or lie still, breathe slowly and deliberately, and allow your body to focus entirely on its most essential job, survival. Here's a subtle but important detail often overlooked. If you're sitting in a chair without supportive armrests, don't allow your body to slump forward or to the side. Maintain your spine in a comfortably upright position to keep your airways fully open. The more relaxed and properly aligned your posture, the less effort your heart must exert to maintain circulation. Step 5. Unlocking your door for emergency responders. If you still have sufficient strength after calling for help and finding a safe position, one of the most practical things you can do is unlock your front door. This might seem like a minor detail in the grand scheme of a life-threatening emergency, but in reality, every second counts, and a locked door can significantly delay treatment when time is precious. Professional paramedics are certainly trained to force entry if necessary, but this approach inevitably adds time, causes property damage, and might even startle or injure you if you're positioned near the entry point. By contrast, unlocking your door in advance allows first responders to enter immediately and begin life-saving care without delay. This simple preparation could save several crucial minutes that your oxygen-starved heart desperately needs. If you live alone, especially in an apartment building or gated community, it's wise to think through these logistical details before an emergency occurs. Consider these important questions. Is your door easily operable from the inside, even when you're feeling weak? Is your address clearly visible from the street, especially at night? Do you have a spare key somewhere accessible to neighbors or nearby family members? These practical considerations might seem trivial during normal times, but become urgently important during a medical crisis. Take the example of Michael, age 76, who lives in a small condominium complex. When his heart attack symptoms began, he methodically called 911, chewed an aspirin as instructed, and unlocked his front door, all within approximately 2 minutes. The paramedics later told him that this simple preparation helped them reach his side at least 30 seconds faster and saved them from having to force entry. Unlocking the door was honestly the last thing that would have occurred to me in that moment of panic, he later reflected. But it might have been what got me help just in time. If walking to your door feels too risky or unstable, you absolutely should not attempt it. Your priority remains minimizing cardiac strain. So sit down immediately and focus on your breathing instead. However, if you're already near your entrance or feel steady enough to reach it safely without exertion, Unlocking it is a tremendously helpful action that could accelerate your emergency care. For additional preparation, consider installing a smart lock with remote access capabilities or a medical lockbox containing your key, especially if you live alone or have mobility challenges. These simple technological solutions can provide peace of mind and faster emergency access if you're unable to reach the door yourself. It's a small act of preparation that communicates something important to the professionals racing to save you. You've done your part to facilitate their efforts. Now they can focus entirely on providing the medical care you urgently need. Step 6. Using your phone's speaker or medical ID features. When you're waiting alone during a suspected heart attack, your smartphone transforms from a convenience into a genuine lifeline. One of the most intelligent ways to leverage this technology during those critical moments is by immediately activating your phone's speaker function after calling emergency services. This simple adjustment allows you to communicate with emergency dispatchers completely hands-free, enabling you to focus entirely on controlling your breathing and maintaining as much calmness as possible without the additional stress of holding your phone. When you're experiencing cardiac distress, even the seemingly insignificant effort of holding a device to your ear can unnecessarily increase your oxygen consumption and make breathing more difficult. Using speakerphone provides multiple advantages beyond physical comfort. It reduces strain on your body while allowing the dispatcher to hear you more clearly if you suddenly become too weak to speak normally. It also enables them to monitor subtle background cues about your condition, your breathing patterns, any movement sounds, even changes in your vocal tone that might signal deterioration. Beyond this immediate communication benefit, every modern smartphone contains another potentially life-saving feature that too few people properly utilize: your emergency medical ID. On iPhones, this critical information is accessible even when your screen is locked. Android devices typically offer similar functionality, though the specific implementation varies by manufacturer. This digital tool stores vital information that emergency responders need immediately: your age, known allergies, current medications, existing medical conditions, blood type, and emergency contacts. If you become unconscious before paramedics arrive, this readily accessible data can save precious time and guide critical decisions about your immediate treatment. Consider what happened to Olivia. Age 79, she lost consciousness just moments before emergency services reached her home. However, because she had thoroughly configured her phone's medical ID function, the paramedics immediately discovered she was diabetic and severely allergic to penicillin. This critical information prevented them from administering medications that could have triggered dangerous reactions while addressing her cardiac emergency. Additionally, they were able to contact her daughter using the emergency contact information stored in her phone. Setting up this potentially life-saving feature requires less than 5 minutes, yet its benefits last indefinitely. Include comprehensive information: your full name, birth date, any significant medical conditions, all medications you currently take, known allergies, especially to medications, and at least 2 emergency contacts who can be reached quickly. This isn't a feature reserved for the tech-savvy. It's an essential precaution for anyone who might need medical assistance when they cannot communicate for themselves. If you detect those first warning signs of a potential heart attack, immediately activate your phone's speaker function after calling for help. Stay connected to the emergency dispatcher and trust their guidance. Their calm voice, clear instructions, and consistent presence can make those agonizing minutes of waiting less terrifying. If your condition deteriorates before help arrives, your properly configured smartphone can continue communicating vital information about your health even when you can no longer do so. Step 7. Slowing your breath to steady your heart in the midst of a heart attack It's natural to feel overwhelming panic taking control of your mind and body. Your chest constricts painfully, your thoughts race chaotically, and each heartbeat thunders in your ears. Yet, even in this dire situation, you possess one powerful tool entirely within your control: your breath. When used correctly, conscious breathing can calm your nervous system just enough to give your struggling heart a better chance at maintaining its rhythm until professional help arrives. To be clear, controlled breathing cannot cure a heart attack. No breathing technique, no matter how effective, can dissolve a coronary blockage. However, it can prevent your body from spiraling into full-blown shock while emergency responders are en route. The more intensely anxious you become, the faster your heart pumps, placing additional strain on an organ already fighting for survival. Deliberately slowing your breathing can gently reduce that dangerous acceleration. You don't need specialized meditation training or complex techniques. Simply try this straightforward approach. Inhale slowly and deeply through your nose for approximately 4 seconds. Hold that breath gently for a brief moment, never forcefully. Then exhale gradually through your mouth for about 6 seconds, allowing your chest and shoulders to relax completely. Repeat this cycle, focusing entirely on maintaining this steady rhythm. This simple breathing pattern gives your overwhelmed body something stable to anchor to during chaos. More importantly, it can help prevent your heart from developing dangerous arrhythmias often triggered by extreme stress hormones flooding your system. It's not a miracle cure, but it's a genuine physiological intervention you can perform yourself. Consider what happened to Edward, age 83. When crushing chest pain struck, he felt engulfed by a tidal wave of terror. Remarkably, he remembered a basic breathing exercise his cardiologist taught him during a routine checkup. With tremendous effort, he focused exclusively on each breath, kept his body still, and gradually released the grip of panic. By the time paramedics reached him, his heart was still in distress, but it hadn't progressed to complete cardiac arrest. I just kept repeating to myself, stay calm, stay alive, stay calm, stay alive. He later recalled from his hospital bed. This simple mantra, paired with controlled breathing, might have made all the difference during those critical waiting minutes. The beauty of this technique is that you can practice it anytime, anywhere, when resting quietly, feeling anxious about everyday concerns, or even watching television. The more familiar this breathing pattern becomes during normal circumstances, the more instinctively your body will return to it in a crisis. Your breath cannot repair damaged blood vessels or dissolve arterial blockages, but it can buy precious time by keeping oxygen flowing efficiently and helping your heart maintain stability. Sometimes, in those final minutes before help arrives, that small physiological advantage is the edge you need to survive. Stay still, stay focused, stay alive. Final thoughts: surviving a heart attack while alone isn't about luck or chance. It's about preparation, awareness, and taking immediate, purposeful action. These 7 critical steps might appear simple individually, but together they form a powerful chain of survival that could save your life when you need it most. Let's review them one final time. Recognize the earliest warning signs, even when subtle. Call emergency services immediately, without hesitation. Take aspirin if medically appropriate and available. Sit or lie down to conserve energy and reduce cardiac strain. Make it easier for help to reach you by unlocking your door if safely possible. Use your smartphone's features intelligently during the emergency. Finally, slow your breathing deliberately to maintain cardiac stability. Each of these evidence-based measures provides additional precious time. Each gives you more control over an otherwise overwhelming situation. Each communicates something vital. Even when physically alone during a heart attack, you are not powerless to influence the outcome. Heart attacks represent one of the most frightening forms of solitude a person can experience. However, having this knowledge, a clear, practical plan of action, ensures you are never truly helpless. You now possess specific tools, medical understanding, and a sequential strategy that maximizes your chances of survival. Take a moment to reflect. Which of these 7 steps stood out most to you? Was there an action you hadn't previously considered? Is there a technique you now view differently? Consider how you might apply this knowledge to your own life and environment. Most importantly, consider sharing this information with someone you care about. This knowledge might not only save your life someday, it could save theirs as well. The most valuable gift we can offer those we love is the ability to protect themselves when we can't be there to help. Thank you sincerely for joining us today for this potentially life-saving discussion. We'd be genuinely interested in hearing your thoughts. Please leave a comment below sharing one specific insight you gained from today's video and how you plan to implement it in your daily life. Your personal experiences and reflections aren't just meaningful to us, they might inspire someone else watching to take these precautions seriously. If you found value in this information, please consider liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and sharing this content with others who might benefit from it. Your support enables us to continue creating educational material designed to inform, empower, and potentially save lives. Bye. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to connecting with you again in our next video. Until then, stay informed, stay prepared, and stay healthy.